Hi guys, welcome to Co-op Work. This is the first video in the series where I'll show you guys how to build a location app in Flutter. With this app we can share our location with social media apps to kind of learn the basics of Flutter and how to get started with Flutter. This is the first video. In this video I'll show you guys how to set up and install Flutter. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I think the first step here is to download VS Code. This is the editor that we'll be using to run Flutter. Let's see. Let's download it for Windows. If you're on Mac, you can download it as well. It's available for all platforms. This video will work for both platforms, Mac and Windows, although the setup process on Mac is a little bit different, but it's very nicely described on the website of Flutter, so you shouldn't have too much of a hard time getting through that. And if not, there are a bunch of videos as well that will show you how to set up Flutter on a Mac. And the other videos in this tutorial will be fully compatible with Mac. But just stick around and because we'll set up a bunch more than just installing the editors in Flutter. Let's see. Yeah, this is all fine. This kind of depends on what you prefer. And while this is installing, we'll go ahead and go to the Flutter website. This is where we'll install Flutter. Makes sense. Let's see. So yeah, what is Flutter? Flutter is basically a framework that allows you to make apps for basically any platform. So we can develop apps for Android and iOS, but we can also develop applications for the websites or for Windows or for Mac. So basically, it's one code base for all, which is very useful. Google is focusing on really, making Flutter the way to build apps. They're also working on a new OS, Fuchsia OS, which is also going to be natively supporting Flutter. So, yeah, Google really wants to push Flutter to be more of a modern way to build apps. Let's not dive too deep into that right now. So if you're on Mac, you're obviously gonna want to go to the Mac page, but I'm on Windows, so I'll follow the Windows instructions. You can probably follow along pretty well with Mac as well. Just go to the Mac page and follow the instructions here. It shouldn't be too difficult to get this going. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and download a Windows build here with step 1. I think Visual Studio should be done by now. Yeah. Go ahead and pin that to our taskbar so we can access it easier later. So I guess the first thing you're going to want to do is create a folder where you want your projects to go. I'll just go ahead and create a folder in my documents. Let's say Flutter projects. Oh, never use a space in code. Very important. But all software likes spaces in your folders. Let's see. Yeah. So while this is downloading, you can go ahead and download Android Studio as well, which is what we'll need to run the Android emulator as well, because in this tutorial I'll show you how to build the apps for Android, but the app should also work fine for other platforms. It's just that Android and iOS have GPS, which is needed for our app in this case. Let's see, and this should be pretty easy too. This is what we need as well for the Android SDK to build apps for Android, because Flutter can't build apps for Android out of the box. You're gonna need this to build the Android apps. Let's see, download the latest version. Yeah. Alright, and once this is done downloading, we're gonna need to find a place for Flutter to be located on our PC. This is where yeah, Flutter will be located and where the command line will be accessed from, and all the folders and Flutter stuff. So it's basically your installed directory for Flutter. It's not going to be program files like most files, because Flutter comes in a zip file, and it doesn't really come with an installer. Installers usually just put it there, yeah, because it's a standard for Windows. But with software, I usually like to create a folder on my C drive. So I'll just go here and I'll just name it, for example, libraries, because Flutter is basically a library that you use in your code. This is just an easy way to access your code. Let's see. Right, it's downloaded, so we can go ahead and copy that over to the libraries folder we just created. Let's see. File Explorer decides to work. Just close that one and copy it over. Just like that. And then we'll extract it right here. So you can go ahead and extract all in this folder. And then Flutter should be available there pretty soon. Alright, so now that Flutter is extracted, you can go ahead and lift the Flutter folder from the extracted folder if that's what happened in your PC. So it depends on what extractor you're using. I was using the default Windows one, which creates a subfolder, and deleted the other folder and the zip file where it came from. This is the Flutter directory. This is where you're gonna wanna point your CMD now. And to do that, to be able to access the command line interface of Flutter, so now we need to change our environment variables. So you're gonna wanna go to your Windows search bar and type in environment variables. And a little control panel setting should pop up right there. And then here is a button, environment variables. You click that. And then in the bottom row that says system variables, you double click the path variable and you click here on new. Now you click on browse, and now we're going to locate the place where we extracted Flutter, which is in my case on my C drive, libraries, and Flutter. And in Flutter there should be a bin folder. It's right here. And you would just want to click that bin folder and hit OK. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow Windows to see the Flutter command. So when we go to CMD right here, when we type Flutter doctor, which is the command that Flutter created to check if everything with Flutter is set up correctly. So we're just going to go ahead and run that. It says welcome to Flutter, running Flutter pubget and Flutter tools. So this is how you can tell that you set it up correctly. So now it's gonna give us a whole bunch of stuff that's not set up properly, which makes sense because we have a fresh install. It does recognize our Visual Studio Code. And now the first thing we're gonna want to do is set up the Android toolchain. So click on the executable that you downloaded from Android Studio's website and open it. Just click next here, and this should all be fine by default. So now what you're going to want to do is go ahead and start Android Studio. And then from here is where we're going to download the SDK. Just go ahead and do not import any settings. That's fine. Let's see. All right. Just go ahead and click next through here. Set it up. This is kind of the important part. So right here you can see that it's going to download the Android SDK for us in this folder right here, your app data, and that's what we're going to need for Flutter to be able to build our Android app. So we're going to go ahead and accept the licenses here like that, and now just wait for this to be completed. Alright you guys, so now that downloading Android Studio has been completed, you can go ahead and click finish. and just close Android Studio. We won't need that anymore right now. And we can go ahead, go back to CMD and type in Flutter Doctor again to see if it detects that we correctly installed the Android SDK. There we go. It sees that it's still missing some things. So it tells us that the CMD line tools are still missing. So we're going to go ahead and open Android Studio again and add that as well. So once you're here, you're going to go ahead and click More Actions and then go to SDK Manager. And then here we're going to look for the command line tools. So you're going to go to SDK Tools, and here it should say Android SDK command line tools right here. So you're going to select that one, hit apply. It's going to tell you that it's going to download some stuff. Hit OK, and then wait for this to be downloaded. Alright, so now that this is downloaded, we can go ahead and close Android Studio again, and hit Flutter Doctor again to let us know what we still need to do to finish our setup. Alright, so we still have to accept some of the licenses from Android, so you could just copy this command right here. It already tells you how to run it, so it's going to run Flutter Doctor Android licenses. And when you go ahead and type Y to accept the licenses, you can go ahead and read all this if you want to, but I'm just going to accept this because I already know I want to accept them. Alright, and now if we run Flutter Doctor again, it should tell us that everything is set up correctly. So everything is set up correctly. It's still complaining about Android Studio developed for Windows, but that is only necessary if you want to build your applications for Windows as a Windows application. That's not something we're going to do in this tutorial. I will dive into this in a future video, but for now, let's just go ahead and work with it as it is with Android. So you're going to want to open Visual Studio Code that we downloaded a while ago. So now that we're in Visual Studio Code, the first thing we need to do is download the Flutter plugin so Visual Studio Code actually knows what we're doing. So we're gonna look for Flutter in here, and then you can go ahead and install that. This is this tool kind of helps Visual Studio understand how to work with Flutter, gives us the little build commands and commands to create new projects and that sort of stuff. And it's also going to install the Dart extension for us so it understands the Dart language, which is the programming language that Flutter uses. Alright, so now that Flutter is installed, you're going to want to go ahead and restart Visual Studio Code so that it can initialize everything properly. If you don't do it, it might complain that it doesn't have the location to the SDK yet. So right now you're going to want to press Ctrl-Shift-P, and on Mac that's going to be Command-Shift-P, and you're going to want to press type in Flutter, and it's going to say new project. Hit that one, and then we're going to want to create a new application. That's going to ask us where do we want to create this project. So we're going to want to go to the folder that we created in the start. I called it Flutter project, and just select that one. So now it's going to ask us for a name. This name has to be a lowercase name. So we're going to call it, I'm going to call it location share app tutorial. Just hit enter. It's going to create the project for us. Just hit yes, I trust the authors because yeah, we made it ourselves. So while that's initializing, you can go ahead and open your CMD window within Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code has a CMD window built in, and you can enable it by either pressing Ctrl and then tilde, which is this little thing right here. That's this little character right here. If you press that together with Control, it's gonna open your command line up like that. And if you can't find the little tilde I character on your keyboard, you can always press Ctrl Shift P, which is going to be Command Shift P in a Mac, and you can go ahead and type in terminal, create new terminal, and once you click that one, it's going to open this up as well. So by default, it's going to have PowerShell selected. It's totally different from CMD and it behaves totally different. It's going to mess with your workflow. So just go ahead and press the little arrow icon down here and go ahead and select the default profile and go for command prompt and then press the plus icon to create a command prompt. And here we're going to go ahead and remove the PowerShell so we won't accidentally use it. So from now on, when we create a new terminal, it's going to automatically use CMD. So from here, we can check if Flutter is properly working from this command line interface by running Flutter Doctor again. If this works, then you're all set up. By default, Flutter created a nice little demo app for you. So to run this app, we're going to need to create an Android emulator first. So if you go ahead and navigate to Android Studio again, then we're going to need to create an emulator on which we can run our application. Let's see. So once you open Android Studio again, you can click here in More Actions and click Virtual Device Manager. You can go ahead and create a new device. What's important from the device list here, it doesn't really matter which one you click as long as it has this little Play Store icon, because without it you won't have any Play services and building apps is going to be a completely different thing. So I'm not going to go too much into depth with that. Just make sure that it has the little Play Store icon. And from here you can download the latest API for that device. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and download the API 33. Alright, so once it's finished downloading, you can go ahead and click Next from here. And from here, click on Show Advanced Settings, because by default, Android Studio allocates a very small amount of storage for the emulators, and in my opinion, it always, or in my experience, it always is too little. So we usually change it to gigabytes and then give it like 3 to 5 gigabytes, depending on what you're planning on doing. But 3 gigabytes should do the job just fine. And you can always change this later. And then you can click Finish. I will switch back to my main environment because right now I am in a sandbox mode, so I can, show you guys the setup progress. But I obviously have everything already installed. But the installation process is fully complete right now. So right now I'm back at my main computer. You can start the device by clicking the play icon, and it'll show up like this. And once your device is all set up and ready, so it shows the home screen, that means that it's done starting up. You can go back to Flutter, make sure that the emulator is selected here. It should say the name of your device, because down here it should say what it will be running on. This can be Windows, web, or in our case Android. So once you properly selected the device and it's running, you can click this little icon here or press F5 on your keyboard depending on what your preference is. But make sure that the main.dart file has been opened from the lib folder here. It should open by default, but if it's not, you should open it because otherwise the editor won't detect that you're running a Flutter project. So if you click this, it will start building and run on your device. Alright, so once your application is done building, you should see the splash screen like this. This is the demo app of Flutter. It's a simple counter that when you press this button, a little number will go up. But this means that you've properly set up Flutter and you're ready to continue with the next level of this tutorial series. In the next video, I will go over how Flutter works more in depth. I will explain the different elements of Flutter, so you have a deeper understanding of how how you can use Flutter to build apps and what all the code and functions mean. Yeah, so thank you for watching. If you found this video useful, then please consider subscribing and liking this video, and I'll hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.